Shelly Long is an actress who most people recognize from her role as Diane Chambers on the hit 1980s sitcom Cheers. Shelly was one of the show's biggest draws for audiences during its early years, until she decided to quit after the show's 5th season in 1987. After she quit, she never quite achieved the mainstream recognition she had achieved so effortlessly from her role as Diane Chambers. For those who might like to know what she did afterwards, join Facts First as we explore what happened to Shelly Long, Diane Chambers, from Cheers. Shelly Long was born August 23, 1949, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. She showed an affinity for being the center of attention at a young age, taking to public speaking and debate during her school years. Her willingness to be in the public spotlight eventually led her to develop a passion for drama, which she pursued into her college years at Northwestern University. While attending, she was given her first entertainment gigs as an actress and model in some local advertisements. She received her first TV acting credit in 1975, hosting a local program in Chicago. This program was called Sorting It Out and ran until 1978. In 1978, she was given a guest starring role in the series The Love Boat. As her acting career blossomed, Shelly was given roles in a few feature films. She was featured in a 1980 drama A Small Circle of Friends and appeared in the strange slapstick comedy Caveman alongside ex-Beatle Ringo Starr in 1981. In '82, she appeared in the cult comedy Night Shift, directed by Happy Days' Ron Howard. But her biggest break that year proved to be her casting in a new TV sitcom called Cheers. In the show, she was cast as one of the main characters, Diane Chambers. Although Shelly was uncertain of committing to the role, she ended up becoming one of the show's most memorable parts. However, she left the role before the show reached its final season, around a decade later. Shelly Long received 5 Emmy nods during her time on Cheers, even winning the award in 1983. Her co-star Ted Danson has said Shelly was the part of Cheers that put the show on the map. According to him, audiences hadn't seen a character like Diane Chambers in years. However, while she was certainly a major part of the show's success, things weren't always amicable between her and the cast and crew on set. Shelly's character, Diane Chambers, was a somewhat antagonistic love interest for the show's other main character, Ted Danson's Sam Malone. According to stories from the show's production, Ted and Shelly never quite got along when the cameras weren't rolling. And a third party was introduced into their relationship a few years into the show in the form of Kelsey Grammer's Frasier Crane. This new love interest for Diane provided romantic tension between her and Sam, but it also provided increased tension behind the scenes. Shelly got along with Kelsey even less than she got along with Ted. She also began to have run-ins with the crew that eventually led her to decide to call it quits after the 5th season. While the camaraderie of the cast was a big part of Cheers' appeal on the screen, that on-screen chemistry didn't translate over to behind the scenes. Although the two never necessarily fought, Ted Danson was never comfortable with how long it took Shelly to get to the right comedic performance. According to Shelly, Danson liked her comedic timing but felt she took too many takes. This led to tension on the set, as Danson became passive-aggressive instead of simply telling his co-star the truth. Eventually, Danson did say something to Shelly, and the two got along better afterwards. Shelly has said she upped her game and became a better comedic actress in the process. Danson and Shelly played conflicted romantic interests, and Kelsey Grammer was brought in to add some more tension. However, he ended up bringing even more tension behind the scenes. According to insiders, Shelly simply took objection to Kelsey Grammer's character, Frasier Crane. Given the character was supposed to come across as a more suitable love interest for Diane than Sam Malone, the character was somewhat similar to Diane. Because of this, Shelly felt Kelsey was getting some lines that might have normally gone to her. Grammer's appearance was simply intended as a guest starring role, but he ended up becoming a regular. Some, including Grammer, have speculated the producers wrote Frasier onto the show full-time as a means to stick it to Shelly. Shelly had never had reservations about repeatedly expressing her feelings about Grammer's character, and it apparently began to annoy much of the behind-the-scenes crew. However, the writers have denied these allegations, saying the reason Grammer was employed on the show full-time was because his character represented a new dynamic the audience found appealing. Given that Frasier went on to star for over 10 years in his own show, this claim has a lot of merit. The professional jealousy between Kelsey and Shelly led to a tense personal relationship, which many speculate is a big part of the reason Shelly decided to leave. However, Shelly did later appear in Grammer's spin-off, Frasier. She reprised Diane Chambers, and many took this as the two stars burying the hatchet. With that, it appeared Shelly was on good terms with both Danson and Grammer. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Although the crew of Cheers may have had their issues with Shelly, it appears many of them still have fond feelings for the actress. Writer David Isaacs said he always felt Shelly had the toughest assignment, and she was one of the best comic actresses around. The character of Diane was often the butt of the joke, and Shelly was never unwilling to throw herself under the bus to get a laugh. Still, Shelly chose to leave the show long before it ended. Among all the tension on the set, it appears Shelly simply didn't enjoy playing her character anymore. She has said it was time for her to let go of that persona. She felt she was doing the same episode and storyline over and over again and had become a villain to both her coworkers and the audience. Another reason she gave for leaving was she wanted to get back into Hollywood movies. Wanting to escape the negative environment and pursue her career, she left Cheers after the 5th season, with Kelsey Grammer taking over as the resident uptight bar denizen completely. The whole thing came to an end when Shelly had a tearful breakdown on the set, proving to her she had to move on to other means of employment for her own sanity. Shelly appeared alongside Tom Hanks in the 1986 film The Money Pit, and then got an even bigger role in the 1989 comedy Troop Beverly Hills. The film underperformed at the box office, leading to Shelly having an unstable Hollywood career afterwards. However, both The Money Pit and Troop Beverly Hills are considered cult classics today. Several years later, Shelly appeared in 1995's The Brady Bunch movie, a comedy that served as both a parody and an homage to the 1969 sitcom The Brady Bunch. This film and its 1996 sequel were minor hits, with many critics feeling Shelly's performance as Brady matriarch Carol was one of their best attributes. She went on to make many minor appearances in films after this, with the most notable perhaps being her co-starring turn in 2000's Dr. T and the Women. And she had a pretty big role on the hit sitcom Modern Family, playing the character of Dee Dee Pritchett for 8 episodes. She's still working today at age 71, having recently filmed The Cleaner with fellow former television star Linda Carter. All in all, Shelly seems to have retained the same work ethic well into her older age. To those who know Shelly only from her performance as Diane Chambers, the star is likely going to be unrecognizable today. At 71, she hasn't tried to hide her age. All things considered, she's likely glad not to be recognized by the millions of Cheers fans who want to ask her why she quit the show. These days, you can find Shelly dining around West Los Angeles with her chihuahua in her handbag. She's currently single, having divorced her husband Bruce Tyson in 2004. They had 1 child together. Along with The Cleaner, currently in post-production, Shelly's other recent roles include voicing a character on the animated Disney show Milo Murphy's Law. She's also appeared in a few Lifetime Christmas movies since 2010. She reprised her role as Carol Brady twice after a Very Brady sequel in '96. She was one of the only returning stars in the made-for-TV sequel The Brady Bunch in the White House in 2002. And in 2010, she voiced Carol Brady in an episode of the adult animated sitcom Family Guy. Heather's career started out strong. Born in L.A. in 1961, Heather was the daughter of Diane and Bill Locklear. Her mother worked as a production executive in Hollywood, and her father was a former Marine colonel, as well as an administrator at UCLA. After graduating from high school, Heather enrolled in UCLA, where she pledged Chi Omega and Delta Delta Delta, but was never officially initiated into either. While attending school, she started working in modeling and did a few commercials for the school store. She made early appearances in television shows like 240 Robert, Chips, and 8 is Enough before she began her decades-long collab with Aaron Spelling. Despite the fact that her resume wasn't all that impressive, Spelling saw there was something special about Locklear. He loved what he saw in her previous work and was confident she had the looks and talent to one day grow into a major star. Deciding he was going to be the one to facilitate that transformation, Spelling invited Locklear to join the cast of Dynasty during the show's 2nd season. Locklear's character, Sammy Jo, the ever-conniving niece of Crystal Carrington, was the kind of character audiences loved to hate. She might not have been a particularly likable character, but she shined in the role. Dynasty proved to be the first of many Aaron Spelling-helmed productions that Locklear was involved with. During the first couple years on Dynasty, she also appeared in the award-winning William Shatner-led drama T.J. Hooker. On that program, she appeared in almost every episode as a series regular. After the show finished after 5 seasons, Heather was made a series regular on Dynasty. After Dynasty ended, Locklear returned to reprise her role of Sammy Jo once again in the TV miniseries Dynasty: The Reunion in 1991. She worked with Spelling once again when she was cast as Amanda Woodward in the hit series Melrose Place. Melrose Place was a long-running primetime soap that dealt with tropish themes like sex, backstabbing, and infidelity. Her appearance in that show initially proved a boost to the show's ratings, but throughout the series' 7-season run, her character became so unanimously disliked, in all the right ways, that she was kept around as a series regular. Oddly enough, she was always billed as a special guest star. During her time working with Spelling, Locklear appeared in a total of 8 of the producer's projects. In addition to the ones we've covered, she could also be seen in shows like The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Matt Houston, Hotel, and a made-for-TV film called Rich Men, Single Women. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Locklear showed off her versatility in comedic roles. Nighttime soaps weren't the only kinds of offerings that Locklear excelled in. She also displayed a remarkable gift for appearing in comedic roles. The comedy Going Places was her first foray into TV sitcoms, but that series unfortunately only lasted a single season. She didn't take another stab at sitcoms until 1999 when she co-starred with Michael J. Fox in Spin City. Seeing as comedy seemed to be her new calling, she next joined the cast of Scrubs, appearing in a recurring role. She later made appearances in shows like Rules of Engagement, Hot in Cleveland, and 2.5 Men. In 2009, the CW decided to give Melrose Place the reboot treatment. Locklear reprised her role of Amanda Woodward and appeared in 8 episodes before the show was quietly canceled after a season. In the last 10 or so years, Locklear's presence has been markedly diminished compared to the high-profile status she once had. Besides appearing in Hot in Cleveland, Locklear had a recurring role on the TNT show Franklin and Bash and another in TLC's Too Close to Home. While both were met with positive critical feedback, they were short-lived. She's also taken a stab at doing movie roles, appearing in a handful of films such as Uptown Girls, The Perfect Man, and most recently 2013's Scary Movie 5. The last thing she did was a fairly forgettable Lifetime TV movie, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, the Christine Carlson story, airing in 2021. Locklear's health and legal troubles. The reason we haven't seen much of Heather in recent times has largely to do with a combination of her mental health struggles, high-profile marriages and divorces, and numerous legal troubles. In March 2008, a call was made to emergency services by someone claiming to be Heather's doctor. The caller expressed concern that Locklear was perhaps going to attempt to take her life. Emergency responders were dispatched to her home, but her publicist later said she never requested assistance. The Ventura County Sheriff's Department later put out a statement saying no further action was needed after they arrived at her Westlake Village home, and she appeared to be doing fine. That being said, they did say the call they received appeared to be genuine. Later that year, Locklear checked herself into an Arizona medical facility for psychological difficulties, including depression and anxiety. She returned home a month later after receiving treatment. In September of 2008, she was arrested by a California Highway Patrol officer under suspicion of driving under the influence. It was reported she'd been seen driving haphazardly just outside Santa Barbara. Law enforcement had been tipped off by former Us Weekly reporter and editor Jill Lacanian, who saw the actress driving erratically outside of a Montecito, California market. Locklear was charged formally on November 17, 2008 with 1 misdemeanor count of DUI, but a blood test indicated she had neither alcohol nor narcotics in her system. The Santa Barbara County Deputy District Attorney Lee Carter later stated it was his belief that her prescription medication for anxiety and depression may have impaired her ability to operate her vehicle safely. She pleaded no contest, and the DA dismissed the DUI charges. She was sentenced to 3 years probation and ordered to pay a $700 fine. In January of 2012, Heather's sister called 911 believing Locklear's life was in danger after she allegedly consumed a potentially life-threatening combo of prescription medications and alcohol. After medics arrived on scene, she was rushed to Los Robles Hospital in Thousand Oaks. The following day, she was released after doctors confirmed she wasn't in danger. Perhaps the most shocking bit of legal trouble that Locklear found herself in stemmed from an incident in February of 2018 when she was arrested for domestic violence and assaulting a police officer. Locklear was charged with 1 count of felony domestic violence and 3 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer. When officers arrived at her home, she allegedly attacked 3 of the responding sheriff deputies by kicking them and told them she wouldn't hesitate to shoot them if they showed up at her house again. The 911 call, which was taped and eventually released, was pretty damning. Her brother had been the one who called the cops after he came home to to find Locklear and her boyfriend at the time, former AMA motocross racer Chris Heiser, arguing. Hours after Locklear was arrested, Heiser was too taken into custody for driving under the influence. Officers searched Locklear's home looking for a weapon, but came up empty-handed. In June of 2018, Locklear was arrested yet again for 2 misdemeanor counts of battery. After being released from police custody, she was hospitalized for a suspected overdose. In August, she pleaded no contest to the charges and was sentenced to 30 days in an inpatient residential mental health facility. As far as failed romantic relationships and marriages go, Locklear's first husband was Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee, whom she married in 1986. That marriage ended in divorce in 1993, after which Locklear got married to high-profile rocker Bon Jovi guitarist Richie Sambora in 1994. With Sambora, Locklear gave birth to a daughter named Elizabeth Sambora in 1997. Sadly, Locklear filed for divorce from Sambora in early 2006. A month after the divorce had been filed, Sambora filed for joint custody of their daughter and for enforcement of a prenup. Their divorce was finalized in April of 2007. That same month, she began dating her former Melrose Place co-star Jack Wagner. In the summer of 2011, they announced they were engaged, but the marriage was called off by November. A living legend. With her radiant smile and iconic all-American beauty, Christy Brinkley quickly became one of the most successful models of her generation. Her record-breaking appearance on 3 consecutive covers of Sports Illustrated's swimsuit issue in 1979, 80, and 81 cemented her status as a true fashion icon. Despite quickly becoming a household name following those early successes, she didn't stop at modeling. Over the years, she skillfully navigated her way into various other domains, including acting, entrepreneurship, and activism. From gracing over 500 magazine covers and becoming the face of CoverGirl for an impressive 25 years, to trying her hand at acting on Broadway and in TV series, Christy's versatility and drive are truly remarkable. She's been married 4 times, and each marriage unfortunately ended in divorce. These failed relationships have significantly influenced her views on love and commitment, leading her to renounce the idea of marriage altogether. 4 failed marriages. Despite the image of youthful vitality and optimism that Christy Brinkley radiates, she's lived a life rich in experiences. One crucial aspect of this is her history with love. The iconic supermodel has been married 4 times to Jean-Franois Alo, Billy Joel, Richard Taubman, and Peter Cook. But despite these past heartaches, she remains hopeful and open to love. Her journey began in 1973 at age 19 when she said "I do" to French artist Jean-Franois Alo. Despite a marriage that spanned nearly a decade, the couple parted ways in 1981 without welcoming any children. The next chapter of her romantic tale began in 1985 with none other than the legendary Uptown Girl singer Billy Joel. Their love story was soon blessed with the arrival of their daughter, Alexa Ray Joel, in December of that same year. Despite their divorce in 1994, Christy and Billy have remained good friends, often gathering around the piano during Christmas for cheerful sing-alongs, a tradition that Christy cherishes deeply. Love found her again shortly after her split from Billy. Christy tied the knot with Richard Taubman in December of 1994, and their union resulted in the birth of her second child, Jack Paris Brinkley Cook, in June of 1995. Sadly, their marriage ended when Jack was just 2 months old. In 1996, Christy married her 4th husband, Peter Cook, who subsequently adopted Jack, resulting in Jack adopting the surname Brinkley Cook. Their family expanded with the birth of Christy's last child, model Sailor Brinkley Cook, in July of 98. Despite the longevity of their marriage, the longest of Christy's so far, she and Peter ultimately couldn't make it work. Here's a closer look at her 4 exes. Jean-Franois Alo. A French artist, Alo was Christy's first. He's currently the associate professor in the Department of Art and Design at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, with his artwork featuring in many prestigious publications over the years. Billy Joel. Undoubtedly the most famous of Christy's ex-husbands, Joel is a legendary musician known for hits like Piano Man and New York State of Mind. Their daughter Alexa Ray followed in her father's footsteps, becoming a singer who's even performed duets with her father at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Richard Taubman. Taubman, a real estate developer, proposed to Christy even before her divorce from Joel was finalized. Beyond his primary profession, he's also known for his photography and singing. Peter Halsey Cook. An architect by profession, Cook was Christy's last husband to date. Their marriage, her longest, resulted in the birth of sailor Brinkley Cook, who's followed her mother's footsteps into modeling. Despite their glamorous wedding, which Billy Joel attended, the couple is not close today. The settlement that cost her millions. The bitter feud between Christy Brinkley and her now ex-husband Peter Cook came to a dramatic end in 2012, following a prolonged and public custody battle over their 2 children. The conclusion of their dispute marked the end of a relationship rife with animosity, culminating in a late-night settlement agreement. Their marital strife had made headlines in 2008 when Cook admitted to having an affair with an 18-year-old assistant. The ensuing divorce was particularly nasty, with accusations and counter-accusations from both sides. Brinkley alleged Cook to be a deadbeat dad and accused him of sending aggressive emails. Meanwhile, Cook claimed Brinkley was an attention-seeking egomaniac using the court system to garner publicity, especially coinciding with her Broadway debut in the musical Chicago. This war of words between the former couple reached a tipping point in November 2012 when disputes flared over seemingly minor issues such as small sums of money and rude emails. These arguments culminated in a trial averted at the 11th hour following the advice of a Suffolk judge who urged the parties to settle their differences for the sake of their children. The final resolution was bittersweet, with both parties releasing sharp statements. Brinkley emphasized on her Facebook page that she had moved on from the moment she found out about Cook's infidelity. She further lamented the expense and inefficacy of the legal agreements that were supposed to protect her, pointing out they had failed to shield her from character assassination and extortion attempts. She also expressed relief at finally establishing boundaries and securing provisions to deal with email bullying, verbal, and emotional abuse. In contrast, Cook's attorney claimed that Cook was completely vindicated, accusing Brinkley of having brought a meritless lawsuit against Cook for the sole purpose of causing him pain and suffering. Despite these opposing narratives, the settlement did address a key area of dispute, the co-parenting of their children. An agreement was reached to ensure all communications between the pair were in written form and monitored, reducing the possibility of further verbal clashes. The settlement agreement cost Brinkley heavily in monetary terms and emotionally, a cost she hopes will not have been in vain. She expressed the hope that her ordeal might serve as a template for courts to protect other victims of narcissistic abuse, thus sparing them from the lengthy, costly, and emotionally draining trials she had to endure. While the battle was over, the scars remained. Following the settlement, both Brinkley and Cook moved on from their tumultuous relationship, Brinkley with her role in Chicago and Cook getting remarried. She's done with marriage. After 4 marriages, Brinkley has firmly declared that she is finished with the institution, soured by her previous experiences. It was her 4th marriage with Peter Cook that seems to have prompted Brinkley's avowed end to her marital journey. The couple's divorce, as we've established, was acrimonious, driven by Cook's affair with his teenage assistant. This betrayal seems to have deeply affected Brinkley, who declared unequivocally, "I would never get married again." In a 2015 interview with The Week, reflecting on her sentiment about her failed marriages, Brinkley humorously suggested that if she were to design a perfume based on her feelings about marriage, it would aptly be named Stinks. This tongue-in-cheek comment revealed the level of her disillusionment and suggested a decided close to this chapter of her life. Since then, Brinkley appears to have closed the door on marriage, choosing instead to focus on her individual journey. Rise to fame. Kim Basinger is a highly celebrated actress and former fashion model. Born in Athens, Georgia in 1953, Basinger showed an early interest in the arts, particularly music and ballet. But her stunning good looks caught the attention of scouts from the Ford modeling agency, who signed her up at the age of 16. Basinger quickly became one of the most sought-after models of the 1970s, working with top brands like Revlon and Breck. She soon realized her true passion was in acting and began taking classes while still modeling. After making her feature film debut in the drama Hard County in 1981, Basinger appeared in several made-for-TV films, including a remake of From Here to Eternity. But her big break came in 1983 when she portrayed Bond girl Domino Patacci in Never Say Never Again. Her outstanding performance cemented her position as a rising star. Basinger's career continued to soar with her role in the 1984 film The Natural, for which she received a Golden Globe nomination. She followed that up with another iconic performance in the erotic drama 9½ Weeks, which showcased her versatility as an actress. In 1989, Basinger portrayed Vicky Vale in Tim Burton's Batman, which became the highest-grossing film of her career. Her performance was praised by critics, and it helped cement her status as one of the most sought-after actresses of the time. Throughout the 90s, Basinger continued to work on a variety of projects, including the critically acclaimed LA Confidential, for which she received numerous award nominations. She also appeared in The Door in the Floor, based on John Irving's novel A Widow for 1 Year. Failed projects. In the late 80s, Kim was at the height of her Hollywood career, but she embarked on a couple projects that didn't bring back expected results. One of those was to purchase a town, a move considered unusual even by Hollywood standards. Brazelton, a town in Georgia, was the target of Kim's investment. Previously owned by the Brazelton family for over 113 years, the 2,000-acre town needed a facelift, and Kim saw an opportunity to boost its profile. She partnered with a pension fund called Ameritech, now owned by AT&T, to buy the town. Together, they invested $20 million, with Kim contributing $600,000 of her own money. But with Kim filing for bankruptcy, players involved with the project began to grow cold feet, and before long, the deal fell through. Despite her good intentions, she couldn't lead the town to the utopian vision she had for it. She had hoped to inject the town with some life, host film festivals and other Hollywood events there. The property was later sold for just $4.3 million, resulting in a considerable loss for the investors. The small town did eventually receive the facelift it had been longing for. The new owners invested the perfect blend of capital, time, and effort into the town, and it's since been transformed into a bustling destination. It draws 500,000 visitors annually due to its winery and resort, and serves as a distribution center for prominent brands like Whole Foods, Williams-Sonoma, and Hitachi. Another project Kim undertook, which didn't go as planned, was the movie I Dreamed of Africa. In 2000, Basinger starred in the big-screen adaptation of Cookie Gallman's memoir, which told the true story of a single mother who risked everything to move to Kenya with her son in pursuit of adventure and a new start. Kim found the experience of making the movie on location life-changing, but the movie failed to resonate with critics, with the majority describing it as dull. The whole project cost $50 million, but only managed to pull in $14 million at the worldwide box office. Expensive divorce. Kim's fairy tale romance with Alec Baldwin turned into a nightmare that cost her millions. Kim and Alec were two famous Hollywood celebrities once romantically involved. They first met while filming The Marrying Man in 1990, and their on-screen chemistry quickly turned into a real-life romance. They got married in 1993 and had their first child, a girl named Ireland, in 1995. Despite the apparent happiness of their marriage, the relationship was not as perfect as it seemed. They eventually separated in 2000. This led to a highly publicized and contentious custody battle over their daughter, lasting 6 years. The divorce was also reported to be one of the most expensive in Hollywood history, with both parties spending more than $3 million each on legal fees. The high cost of the divorce, combined with the bitter custody battle, took a toll on their public image and career prospects. During the legal proceedings, Kim and Alec exchanged insults and accusations in public and court, which further damaged their reputations. But in 2007, they finally settled their divorce and custody issues and have since attempted to mend the relationship for the sake of their daughter. Filing for bankruptcy. In the early 90s, Kim Basinger was a high-profile actress with a successful career, but she's also had her fair share of controversies. One involved her role in the movie Boxing Helena. Directed by Jennifer Lynch, the daughter of famed filmmaker David Lynch, Boxing Helena was a highly controversial film that was originally intended to star Madonna. But after she backed out, Basinger was cast in the title role. The movie tells the story of a woman named Helena who gets her limbs amputated by a surgeon after a car accident and then is held captive in a box. Basinger had concerns about the script from the beginning and requested that it be edited to make her character more sympathetic. But she remained unsatisfied with the final version and ultimately backed out of the movie, breaching her contract with the studio. During her 1993 trial, Basinger revealed she had shared the script with 15 or 20 people in the entertainment industry and had received overwhelmingly negative feedback, which was why she backed out. The actress was found guilty of breach of contract with Mainline Pictures, with an estimated loss of $6.4 million in potential domestic and foreign sales due to her dropping out. So she was ordered to pay $7.4 million in damages, according to Variety. In May of 1993, with the $7.4 million judgment against her looming, Basinger filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Her lawyer revealed her net worth was only $5 million, so she had no choice. In filing, she avoided the immediate seizure of her assets. But in September '94, the California Court of Appeals overturned the judgment that ruled in favor of Mainline Pictures. The court ruled that the instructions given to the jury were prejudicially ambiguous and did not make it clear whether Basinger or her production company would be liable for damages. They also found that damages awarded were excessive. The lawsuit was finally settled in December of '95, with Variety reporting that the final figure was less than half the amount of the original judgment. Appearing unrecognizable. Kim recently attended her daughter Ireland Baldwin's baby shower at Jumbo's Clown Room in Hollywood, looking almost unrecognizable. Exiting the strip club-themed party, the 69-year-old actress was seen wearing a dark gray suit paired with a black button-up and black dress shoes. She walked alongside her boyfriend, hairstylist Mitch Stone, hand in hand. But her minimal makeup and radiant, nearly wrinkle-free appearance left some speculating about whether she had undergone plastic surgery. The Evening Standard in the UK claimed in 2006 that Basinger, who was 52 at the time, had an extremely wrinkle-free forehead and her lips appeared plumper than usual during a press conference for The Mermaid Chair. There were also rumors in 2011 that she'd been seen leaving a plastic surgeon's office in Beverly Hills, with Radar Online reporting that she looked almost unrecognizable entering the building. But despite these rumors, she's never confirmed undergoing plastic surgery. Her daughter Ireland has previously claimed her mom is all natural. She's also advocated for women who want Botox and other skin treatments to listen to her mom, who never had one treatment done due to staying out of the sun all these years. Kim, who's become a recluse due to agoraphobia, has been the subject of various plastic surgery rumors over the years, but whether she's undergone procedures or not, it's clear the actress continues to have a striking appearance and an alluring charm. Heather Thomas was born in Greenwich, Connecticut on September 8, 1957. Her mother worked as a special education teacher in the local school district. After high school, Heather moved to California and attended UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television, where she became a member of one of the school's notable sorority houses due to both her good looks and academic achievements. She graduated in 1980 and headed out into the world. She had studied to become a writer and director, but the industry soon showed it had other plans for the young woman. She had already dabbled in being on screen. As a 14-year-old, she'd been a host on the NBC series Talking with a Giant, where children were given the chance to interview celebrities. However, Heather didn't have plans to pursue an acting career as an adult. Still, she ended up finding it was easier for her to get gigs as an actress than it was to get work as a writer or director. Starting in 1978, she began gaining attention as a TV actress, taking on a variety of small roles. One of her earliest roles was on the show Co-Ed Fever, but the show was a flop with audiences and didn't make it for a full run. After the failure of Co-Ed Fever, Heather was offered the role of Jody Banks in The Fall Guy. The series starred Lee Major. Though the part of Jody had initially been written for Lee's wife, Farrah Fawcett, the two had since gotten divorced. Farrah had filmed the pilot, and now Lee was looking for a star to take over the role for the rest of the series. Lee and the producers ended up deciding on Heather, who soon became a sex symbol to rival Farrah Fawcett in her own right. This was due to both her popularity on The Fall Guy, as well as numerous photo shoots for magazines and posters that littered dorm rooms across the world. Lee Majors had recently come off the success of The $6 Million Man, and he was able to draw a big audience. Once people tuned in for Lee, they stayed for Heather. The Fall Guy followed a group of stunt performers who worked as bounty hunters during their off hours. Heather stayed on to play the role of Jody for the show's entire run, which lasted from 1981 to 86. By the end, her increased popularity caused her to have numerous incidents with stalkers. Pretty soon, the actress developed a negative view of the fame she had acquired. During the years The Fall Guy was being filmed, Heather developed a cocaine habit. She had tried the drug previously at college parties, but her use of the drug during filming of The Fall Guy was far less recreational. Not only did Heather's cocaine use help keep her fit, but it also helped alleviate the negative effects of another dietary aid she was using. She used the diuretic drug Lasix. The actress has shared that the Lasix made her tired, and the cocaine helped keep her awake during workdays. Heather ended up entering rehab for cocaine, where she met and fell in love with one of the founders of the Cocaine Anonymous program. Sadly, their romance was short-lived. They married in August of '85 and were divorced in September of 1986. That same month, Heather was struck by a car and had serious injuries to both of her legs that required surgery. The Fall Guy had aired its final episode in May of that year, and things were not looking good for Heather. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Heather Thomas had been given a surprise intervention soon after the filming of the final episode of The Fall Guy. Her family called her on the phone and told her to come to the hospital under the pretense her father had fallen ill. When Heather got there, she realized she'd been tricked into attending an intervention for her cocaine use. This is what led her to enter rehab. She was admitted into the hospital's drug rehabilitation program, where she stayed for 3 weeks. During that time, she suffered from numerous health complications as a result of withdrawals. In addition to general chemical balance, these included pneumonia and kidney inflammation. Thankfully, the rehab proved successful, and Heather is still currently drug-free. After the disastrous year that saw Heather live through the cancellation of her hit show, a 3-week stay in rehab, a divorce, and numerous broken bones, Heather was ready to get back in the acting game with some new jobs. She appeared in a few films in 1987, including Deathstone and Cyclone. However, none of these roles brought her much Hollywood credibility. It soon appeared Heather was going to be relegated to the status of sex symbol and B-movie star. Thankfully, the actress soon found something else to focus on in the form of a new husband and family. In 1992, Heather met attorney Harry Brittenham. The attorney was a notable figure in the Hollywood scene, and Heather fell in love with him. They got married and started a family. Heather had become increasingly disinterested in acting, both due to the lack of quality offers she was receiving and to the increasing attention she was getting from stalkers. Since her rise to fame on The Fall Guy, Heather had always had to deal with obsessive fans giving her unwanted attention. Apparently, these incidents became so numerous that Heather once had 40 restraining orders in place against fans who had begun stalking her. This continued into the 90s and became a serious issue once she began starting her own family. Heather had been able to deal with the stalking when she was the only one suffering, but she didn't want it to be an issue when she was raising her kids. This was another big part of why Heather eventually decided to retire from being an actress. Heather's last acting role before her official retirement was in the 1998 Billy Crystal comedy My Giant, in which she played a showgirl. The role proved a fitting swan song for the actress, who was now ready to rekindle her love of writing. She began writing numerous scripts, many of which she was able to get sold. However, none of the scripts she sold over the past few decades have been turned into film, which is a common issue for writers. After several years of selling scripts that never made it to production, she decided to write a novel. That way, people would finally be able to see what she had to offer. Her debut novel was released in 2008, and it was called Trophies. The story revolved around a trophy wife who functioned as an avatar for Heather herself. The story was inspired by Heather's life as the trophy wife of her husband Harry and how she helps her husband navigate the social scene. The novel was meant to change the perception that trophy wives aren't capable and knowledgeable individuals with skills of their own. Besides writing, Heather also maintains another passion in her twilight years. Due to the numerous stalking incidents, Heather has become incredibly passionate about women's safety. She's written pieces for the Rape Foundation, and she's written pieces for the Amazon Conservatory Board, which works to conserve the Amazon rainforest. Now that her children are older, Heather has expressed that she's willing to get back into acting, but the only acting appearance she's made since her official retirement in 1998 has been in the 2014 film Girl Trash All Night Long. The obscure feature was based off the LGBTQ+ web series Girl Trash. It seems Heather may be interested in taking on more roles in the future and is also continuing to write. Perhaps one of her scripts will end up being turned into a major motion picture someday. Until then, you can check out Heather's debut novel, Trophies, and hope that more is on the way. Phoebe Cates was born and raised in a family with deep roots in show business, so it was inevitable that she'd follow in her family's footsteps. Joseph Cates, her father, was an influential Broadway producer. He was also instrumental in the development of the controversial 1950s game show, The $64,000 Question. Meanwhile, her uncle Gilbert Cates directed films and hosted the Academy Awards show for many years. Cates began her career as a model at age 10, and she made her film debut in the 1982 film Paradise. Even though that appearance caused controversy at the time due to her age, it did put her on the map, with viewers awestruck by her beauty. Her status as Hollywood's ultimate fantasy woman skyrocketed after the release of her next film, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Cates is seen in the teen comedy, in which she emerges from the water wearing a flaming red bikini, has been called the most memorable bikini drop in cinema history. Starring alongside Nicolas Cage, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Sean Penn, the film was a financial success, grossing over $27 million, and placing 29th among U.S. releases in 1982. It has become a cult classic, helping to maintain Cates' status as one of Hollywood's most beloved pinups. As her career skyrocketed, it began landing her on the covers of numerous publications like 17, Teen Beat, Tiger Beat, and many more. Subsequently, in the 1983 film Private School, Cates played Christine Ramsey, a popular high school senior. Following that, in 1984, she played the lead role in the television miniseries Lace, once again as a sex symbol, Lily, who travels across the U.S. in search of her biological mother. Cates, a feminist pioneer, didn't bat an eye when asked about her willingness to play sexually charged roles or appear nude in many of her films. It was no problem for her to get naked on camera, but the experience led to her being labeled a certain type and limiting her diversity in the industry. During the casting for the 1984 classic Gremlins, Kate was chosen by Steven Spielberg to play the role of Kate, Billy's girlfriend. However, some of Spielberg's colleagues were worried she was too racy to play a virtuous character. The veteran director nonetheless insisted on casting her, alongside Zach Galligan, who played Billy, due to their sizzling on-screen chemistry. When Galligan and Cates were auditioning for their roles, Spielberg remarked that they bonded fantastically, which ultimately led to both actors being cast. Galligan claimed in an interview in 2014 that he had a crush on the bombshell Phoebe, but he never stood a chance as she was only into older guys. Cates still managed to turn heads despite playing a more subtle role. While her role in Gremlins was certainly a departure from her previous sexually explicit roles, it also marked the beginning of the end of her acting career. In 1990, she reprised her role as Kate in the Gremlins sequel, which unfortunately performed poorly at the box office. The following year, she featured in Drop Dead Fred, which did reasonably well financially. Princess Caribou, a romantic comedy released in 1994, was Cates' last big film role before she retired. Unfortunately, it got a lot of negative reviews and had a poor performance at the box office. After that, Kate appeared to make raising her 2 children with husband and fellow actor Kevin Kline her top priority. Cates first met Kevin Kline, one of the actors who made up the baby boomer ensemble cast in The Big Chill, when they auditioned for the film in 1983. Cates may have lost the part to Meg Tilly, but she still has something to show for it, the instant rapport she shared with Kline. With a 16-year age gap between them, Cates and Kline appeared to be an unlikely couple at first. Kline had already won 2 Tony Awards and established himself as a major Hollywood player when he met Cates. He starred opposite Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice. In contrast, Cates had left high school early to pursue a career in modeling. She used to frequent the nightclub Studio 54 before landing her breakthrough role in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. In 1989, when she was 25 and he was 41, Cates and Kline tied the knot. They are proud parents of 2 children, Owen Kline and Greta Kline, born in 1991 and 94. Cates' final feature role, Princess Caribou, coincided with the arrival of her second child. When Cates decided to take a hiatus from acting to focus on motherhood, the family relocated to the Upper East Side of Manhattan, directly across from Central Park. Cates has been relatively tight-lipped about her decision to abandon the Hollywood scene, but according to her Oscar-winning actor husband, it wasn't really her intent to quit acting. After putting her career on hold because she became too attached to her children, she eventually lost interest in the industry. The couple reportedly made a decision to oscillate their filming duties so one parent would always be available to care for the children. Nonetheless, when it was Cates' turn to work, she avoided taking on additional time-consuming projects, preferring to be at home with the kids. It seems as if she probably got more fulfillment from being with her children than she did from acting. With her diminishing interest in the entertainment business, she ventured into the retail business. Cates launched a women's clothing store in Manhattan in 2005. She explained her decision to go into retail on NBC's The Big Idea, saying acting wasn't really an option for her anymore. Since having children, Cates has taken on only 2 acting roles that required her to be away from her family. One was when she made a brief return in 2001, but only as a favor to Fast Times co-star Jennifer Jason Leigh, starring in her directorial debut, The Anniversary Party. The other was voicing her Gremlins character in Lego Dimensions, released in 2015. However, she appeared unhappy by Hollywood's use of CGI at a 2015 Gremlins reunion. While Cates may be shying away from showbiz, her daughter Greta Kline is following the family's tradition. With the stage name Frankie Cosmos, her daughter has found success in the music industry. Greta appeared to imply in an interview in 2017 that her mother did not like living the celebrity lifestyle. Her upbringing was so normal, she didn't get the concept of fame until she experienced it for herself. According to her, being in the spotlight has made her reevaluate her priorities and motivations. She also added that her parents never bought into the celebrity culture. Aside from her endeavor, Cates is active in a number of charitable organizations. It's also well known that she's committed to finding a cure for type 1 diabetes, as her son has been diagnosed with the disease. Cates may have understayed her Hollywood welcome, but she's succeeded where many of her famous contemporaries have failed. She's managed to keep her marriage together. In 2020, Cates and Klein celebrated 31 years of marriage. Though Cates hasn't had many roles in recent years, her legacy will endure. In fact, in Season 3 of Stranger Things, her bikini-clad cardboard cutout from Fast Times was referenced as the epitome of sexiness. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, an iconic coming-of-age movie from 1982, provided a more accurate depiction of what it must be like inside the heads of hormonal male teenagers who spend too much time in the restroom. The pool scene starring Phoebe Cates in the movie ended up being a turning point in cinema. Even though there hasn't been any paradigm-shifting discussion about filmmakers' freedom to sexualize teenagers, this trend has become ingrained in contemporary film. Maybe it was the naivete of the time, but Cates' pool scene hasn't aged at all. Despite the millions of other options available online, her scene consistently ranks first on every bikini list. But even before coming of age, Phoebe Cates was already being sexualized. It was 1982 when she turned 19, and by that time she'd appeared in several nude scenes in movies like Paradise. When compared to the 21st century, teenage nudity seemed to be more socially acceptable in the 1970s. In spite of the issue of teenage sexualization, Fast Times was considered culturally important. The Library of Congress decided in 2005 that it should be preserved in the U.S. National Film Registry. Kelly's early years. Kelly LeBrock's backstory is nothing short of remarkable. Born in New York and raised in London, she comes from a diverse background with a French-Canadian father and an Irish mother. In fact, her given name pays homage to her maternal grandmother from the Irish county Armagh. After spending some time in London, Kelly returned to her birthplace of New York City and launched her modeling career at the young age of 16. But her career truly took off when she was featured in Vogue at age 19, quickly becoming one of the most sought-after models in the world. Her talent and beauty caught the eye of Christian Dior, who personally selected her to become a brand ambassador. With just 30 days of work per year, Kelly reportedly earned a substantial sum, though the exact figure remains unknown. The Woman in Red. Her path to becoming a pop culture icon wasn't without twists and turns, but it wasn't until she became the spokesperson for Pantene that she truly captured the world's attention. Her appearance in one of the brand's most iconic advertisements helped to make her a recognizable face, thanks in part because of her memorable line, "Don't hate me because I'm beautiful." In fact, the catchphrase has remained in use to this day, even among those who might not be familiar with Kelly's work. Interestingly, it was perhaps this memorable TV commercial that helped her land her most famous role to date in Weird Science. Her appearance in a steamy shower during the ad may have caught the eye of the film's creators, leading her to casting in the movie. But Weird Science was not actually her first foray into acting, as she had already begun to establish herself as a talented performer before landing the role that would eternally cement her status as a pop culture icon. Her talents as an actress were soon recognized, and she landed the lead role in the 1984 romantic comedy The Woman in Red, which was directed by and starred Gene Wilder. Kelly portrayed Charlotte, a woman who captures the heart of Teddy, played by Wilder, after he becomes obsessed with her following a Marilyn Monroe-style moment over a ventilation grate. It seemed LeBrock's career was beginning to fall into place. The next year, she took the role for which she's best remembered, starring in the comedy sci-fi classic Weird Science. The movie, written and directed by legendary filmmaker John Hughes, also featured the talents of Anthony Michael Hall and Elon Mitchell Smith. The film proved a major success, solidifying Kelly's status as one of the most talented actresses of her generation. Into the Woods. After becoming a household name thanks to her iconic role in Weird Science, Hollywood opened up to LeBrock. Pretty much from there, she could have gone practically anywhere. Her acting prowess was further showcased in the 1990 film Hard to Kill, which also became significant as this was the project where she met future husband Steven Seagal. Despite this, Kelly decided to step away from the limelight following a widely publicized divorce from Seagal in 1996. Speaking to Fox News about her decision to leave Hollywood behind, Kelly revealed that being famous at a young age had caused her more harm than good. She shared that being in the spotlight is not for everyone, and she wanted to raise her children outside the Hollywood bubble. Kelly left Hollywood and lived in what she referred to as the wilderness with her children, without so much as a television, for 25 years. She describes herself as a single mom who did her best to raise her 3 kids. According to her, she could always make the decision to return to her career, but then she would never have the opportunity to return to her children if she left them. At the end of the day, she put her family first. She reflects that while some people can balance their career and family life, for her, the fame was done and dusted. Not only has Kelly thrown away her television, but she's also done her best to stay away from social media. She thinks social media as a whole has gotten out of control, and frankly, she doesn't want anything to do with it. To avoid the frenzy of the online realm, she's gotten rid of her computer and has an internet connection with very low bandwidth and spotty service. Kelly's marriage with Steven Seagal was a nightmare. In 1987, fate brought Kelly LeBrock and Steven Seagal together in Japan. While LeBrock was there for a photo shoot, her publicist introduced her to Seagal, who was an aspiring actor and screenwriter at the time. Despite her initial plan to blow him off, Seagal's relentless pursuit paid off, and the two started seeing each other. LeBrock was enamored of Seagal's many talents. He could speak Japanese fluently, do acupuncture, chiropractic, play guitar and drums, and draw. She found him to be an all-around Renaissance man, and they got married that same year. But their relationship soon turned sour when LeBrock experienced an incident of abuse at his hands. Despite the troubled marriage, LeBrock stayed with Seagal because of their 3 children. But after 9 years of marriage, they divorced, and LeBrock wrote a tell-all book about her experience. In an interview she gave following her divorce, she revealed that she became too afraid to leave the house and moved her family to a different neighborhood to shield them from the details of the divorce. LeBrock decided to become a homebody, fearing everything and struggling with low self-esteem. She even got rid of the TV to prevent her children from seeing any news about the divorce. Despite the difficult end to their marriage, LeBrock and Seagal co-starred in the aforementioned 1990 action movie Hard to Kill. It's hard to imagine what it must have been like for LeBrock, having to work with her abuser like that. But all we know is at least she eventually freed herself of his abusive tendencies. Kelly today. After divorcing Seagal, Kelly went on to have 2 brief marriages with Victor Dry and Fred Steck, both of which ended in divorce. But despite her failed marriages, Kelly has remained a devoted mother to her 3 children. She's continued to pursue acting, albeit sporadically, and has appeared in several indie films and TV movies, such as The Sorcerer's Apprentice, Xerophilia, 10 Days in a Madhouse, and A Prince for Christmas. Kelly was last seen on screen in the 2021 film Charlie Boy. She's also shared her personal struggles on reality TV shows such as Celebrity Fit Club, Hell's Kitchen, and Growing Up Supermodel. LeBrock is also passionate about charitable causes and supports animal rights and domestic violence prevention. Following the death of her brother Harold in 2008, Kelly started devoting a significant amount of time to tending to and advocating for the terminally ill. She's also been the spokeswoman for Club Carlson, an organization whose members are children who are suffering from cancer. She currently resides on a peaceful ranch in California with her many pets and is content with her simple lifestyle. Though she may no longer be in the spotlight, she remains grateful for her fans' support and appreciates their continued love and support throughout the year. LeBrock may not be quite as famous as she once was, but she's still a beautiful and talented woman who's lived an interesting and inspiring life. Her husband's death. The tragic loss of Catherine Bach's beloved husband, Peter Lopez, in 2010 marked a significant turning point in her life. A prominent music attorney in the industry, Lopez was the backbone of their family, and his death at his own hands at age 60 shook Bach to her core. This grief led to a personal struggle for Bach, one that echoed in the quiet spaces of their family home. In the years following his death, Bach admitted to gaining weight, a physical manifestation of the pain she was working through. A self-professed athlete, Bach had always embraced a fit and active lifestyle, including 3 hours of daily dance, hiking, and swimming. But the emotional tumult from her personal tragedy led her to gain significant weight, shifting her once athletic figure. Despite the immense pain she's gone through, Bach has remained positive and accepting of her body changes, understanding the intricate connection between emotional health and physical wellness. Working through the profound anguish of losing her closest ally, Bach pushed herself to move forward. By 2016, she was spotted vacationing in Hawaii with her children, engaging in physical activities like running, yoga, swimming, and rowing. This shift marked her conscious decision to reclaim her health and fitness. Fast forward to 2023, and Bach, at 69, looks radiant, commanding admiration from fans on her social media platforms. Her ever-supportive and adoring fans applaud her ageless beauty, asserting the notion that true grace transcends time and hardship. Despite the ups and downs life has thrown her way, Bach stands as a symbol of strength and determination. She's opened up about her husband's death. Catherine Bach has spoken openly about the death of her husband Peter Lopez on a couple occasions. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight in 2012, 2 years after his death, Bach candidly shared her experience. She described her confusion and shock at the unexpected loss, saying, "That's what's so crazy. There were no signs. Peter didn't drink and he didn't take drugs." Bach told ET's Nancy O'Dell she held no anger towards her husband, expressing her unconditional love and trust for him. She further conveyed the deep impact of the loss on their daughters and her efforts to help them heal, stating, quote, "My girls and I do grief therapy. I think it's very important to heal from something like this." In another interview with the Huffington Post in 2013, Bach revealed more about her life after the tragic event. She mentioned how she and her oldest daughter read many books in an attempt to understand why this happened, considering the fact that Lopez didn't struggle with substance abuse and their family was financially stable. Bach noted that some research made sense to her, particularly the suggestion that unexplained instances of people taking their own lives could be traced to childhood abuse, hinting at possible struggles her husband had faced in his formative years. Bach further described the day of her husband's death in detail, emphasizing how normal it started with the routine act of affirming their love for each other before he took their daughters to school. She had seen signs of anxiety in her husband, particularly around high-profile deals he was working on, but she attributed it to professional stress. Bach did not fully understand the extent of the situation until she heard the gunshot from their property, at which point she called 911. Her process of grieving involved confronting her depression and supporting her daughters. In the first year following her husband's death, she was in a state of immobilizing shock, barely sleeping and forgetting to breathe at times. Despite the emotional toll, she told HuffPost, quote, "The person that wants to keep their family intact, that's just a natural response. You have no other choice but to be strong." Even in the midst of her grief, she returned to work a couple of years after the incident, taking a role on the long-running soap The Young and the Restless on CBS, which she described as a challenge, but also a way of moving forward. In the aftermath, Bach emphasized the importance of supporting each other and grieving as a family unit. She mentioned how their priest visited them frequently, and they found comfort in the company of their friends. She also commended the support of CBS, her previous employer, for offering help immediately after the incident and eventually providing her with an opportunity to return to work. Bach's new look. In recent years, Catherine Bach has been making headlines for her surprising transformation. Bach, who was once renowned for her fit physique and athletic lifestyle, experienced a significant weight gain following the tragic death of her husband. But it's been clear that Bach remains committed to her active lifestyle as she continued to participate in activities like yoga, running, and biking. At age 69, Bach surprised her fans with an entirely new look at the 16th annual George Lopez Foundation Celebrity Golf Classic pre-party in LA in April of 2023. She appeared beautiful and youthful, showing off her curves in a tight black dress, paired with silver high heels and a matching shiny shoulder bag. Her stunning appearance garnered immense praise from fans. In February of 2023, Bach made a dazzling appearance at the City of Trees parade in Sacramento, where her followers showered her with comments praising her look. Despite the years that have passed since she popularized the Daisy Dukes in the 1980s, Bach continues to captivate people with charm and charisma, revealing a truly inspiring new look for the world to see. She's still going strong. Despite dealing with great hardship, especially in the realm of her personal life, Catherine Bach has maintained a resilient career and thriving personal life over the years. After leaving her memorable mark on pop culture through Daisy Duke and even having her legs insured for $1 million, Bach proved she was more than just a TV actress. Following her stint on the Dukes of Hazzard, she transitioned into entrepreneurship, launching a line of diamond jewelry at Debenhams, which has significantly contributed to her current net worth of $10 million. Not only did she dip her toes into the business world, but Bach also continued acting, earning credits intermittently through the years. At age 69, Bach continues to turn heads with her good looks, which played a significant part in her fame during the Dukes of Hazzard era. She's even credited with adding a new word to our collective lexicon. Her portrayal of Daisy Duke made the term Daisy Dukes synonymous with very short shorts. Despite the challenges of aging in the entertainment industry, Bach has managed to remain relevant and active. One notable role post-Dukes of Hazzard was her stint on The Young and the Restless from 2012 to 2019. She also made an appearance in the TV series Hawaii Five-0 in 2015 and the 2016 TV movie My Best Friends. Recognizing the precarious nature of an acting career, particularly for older actors, Bach diversified her income sources by launching her business. She also runs a store named Daisy Country that sells her jewelry, clothing, and memorabilia. At age 69, she's in a better place than ever, maintaining her relevance and success while embracing new ventures. Despite stepping away from Hollywood, she's managed to keep her legacy alive and thriving through her entrepreneurial pursuits. When Jaclyn Smith took on her iconic Charlie's Angels role in the mid-70s, she quickly rocketed to superstardom. The series followed the Three Angels, which was the code name given to a group of spies working for a mysterious figure named Charles Townsend, or Charlie. Jaclyn was one of the 3 original Angels on the series, and she remained on for the entirety of its run. Her character's name was Kelly Garrett, and the character quickly became incredibly popular amongst audiences. As Charlie's Angels grew in popularity, Jaclyn Smith got to watch as the likeness of her character on the show was plastered on a seemingly endless variety of merchandise. They could be seen on trading cards, candy, toys, and they even got their own board game. This merchandising proved incredibly lucrative, and Jaclyn couldn't help but take note as the money rolled in. By the time Charlie's Angels ended in 1981, she had essentially gotten a crash course in branding. After her time on the show, she floundered around the entertainment industry for several years before a striking business opportunity arose. Kmart approached the actress with a proposition. The store wanted her to develop her own unique line of budget women's sportswear. Though her management insisted that forming a relationship with the big box store wasn't a good idea for her image, Jaclyn felt differently. Thankfully, her intuition proved correct, as her initial deal with Kmart paved the way for the actress to develop her own empire. At the time Kmart approached Jaclyn Smith with its lucrative offer, the store was the second largest retailer in the U.S. The Jaclyn Smith collection was made available for the first time at Kmart stores in August of 1985. While Kmart had initially wanted to use Jaclyn's name and call it a day, the actress insisted she have a hand in the design of the products that were to bear her brand. According to many, this is a big part of why the Jaclyn Smith collection was such a huge success. In addition to lending her hand to designing, Jaclyn also vehemently promoted her line of clothing at Kmart. The line was an immense success, and what was initially a simple line of budget women's sportswear quickly blossomed into a full range of clothes for any time of day. Over time, the line of products bearing Jaclyn's brand expanded out into accessories, with the Jaclyn Smith collection including shoes, sunglasses, and jewelry. 2007 saw Jaclyn expand into fabrics as she got into business with decorative fabric company Fabricut. Named Jaclyn Smith Home, her collection is still sold throughout Fabricut's budget division known as Trend. 2008 saw Jaclyn expand her business venture with Kmart as the Jaclyn Smith collection grew to include bathroom and bedroom decor, with an expansion into general home furnishings occurring soon after that. Her relationship with Kmart has continued successfully despite Kmart's struggle in the past decade to maintain control over the market, with Jaclyn and her daughter working together to develop a line of infant clothing for the previously prestigious big box store in 2014. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First for more, and stick around for more about Jaclyn Smith. In 2017, it was estimated there were nearly 1 million items in the Jaclyn Smith collection sold at various Kmart stores. Currently, there are only 17 Kmart stores left in America, though Jaclyn still has other business ventures continuing to flourish elsewhere. She also developed a skincare line with her current husband in 2010 that she still sells. Her husband is Brad Allen, who is a cardiothoracic surgeon. Jaclyn also sells a line of wigs known as Style by Jaclyn Smith. While most of her ventures are in business, she isn't above returning to the screen. When Elizabeth Banks was helming the 2019 reboot of Charlie's Angels, she asked if Jaclyn would like to make a cameo in the film. Jaclyn agreed, as she always has had many fond memories of her time on the original series. According to Jaclyn, she'd be nowhere if it weren't for Charlie's Angels, though it's hard to deny that it's been Jaclyn's own ingenuity that has allowed her to make good on the promise of her Charlie's Angels fame the way she has. More recently, she could be seen in a 2021 episode of the series All American. This role may indicate Jaclyn is looking to get back into the public eye with a few more acting gigs, which would certainly be a welcome change. Though the actress is 76, she looks better than ever. She certainly could find a place for herself on TV, though it seems she still enjoys being on the controlling end of her business ventures more. She's come a long way over the course of her nearly 8 decades. She was born in Houston, Texas, October 26, 1945. After high school, she originally aspired to be a professional ballerina. While practicing ballet, she began taking small acting gigs on television to pay the bills, including some notable roles in commercials. 1973 saw Jaclyn get a noteworthy gig shilling for Breck shampoo, while her iconic role on Charlie's Angels came a few years later in 1976. As Charlie's Angels and its 3 original stars grew in popularity, Jaclyn remained the only one of the 3 original Angels to stay on the series throughout all 5 seasons. After the series ended in 1981, she continued acting consistently through the 80s, in addition to creating the Jaclyn Smith collection for Kmart. In 1981, the aptly named Jaclyn took on the title role in the made-for-TV biopic Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. Her role in the feature was an immense success and resulted in a Golden Globe nomination. She had a successful role in a miniseries based on Robert Ludlum's novel The Bourne Identity. The miniseries aired in 1988, and Jaclyn could be seen in another miniseries called Windmills of the Gods the same year. Entering the 90s, she became much more interested in expanding her brand than continuing to perform on television. While she's happily married to Brad Allen, the Doctor is actually the actress's 4th husband. The two married in 1997. Prior to Brad, Jaclyn had 3 relatively short marriages, starting with a marriage to Roger Davis in '68. They remained married until 1975, and she married Dennis Cole in 1978. They remained married until '81, the same year Charlie's Angels officially ended its 5-season run. In between Dennis Cole and Brad Allen, Jaclyn was married to Anthony B. Richmond throughout the 80s. She had 2 children with Richmond, Spencer and Gaston. It was Spencer that helped Jaclyn design her line of baby clothes for Kmart in 2014, and Spencer's daughter helped take part in the ad campaign. After divorcing their father, Jaclyn remained unmarried through the majority of the 90s before finally tying the knot with Brad Allen in 1997. The two are still married, making Jaclyn's 4th marriage the most successful she's had. Jaclyn loves spending time with her family, claiming that taking it easy with them is what keeps her looking young. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know Jaclyn Smith was an incredibly successful businesswoman? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.